Hello, fellow truth seekers. This is Barbara Jean. I want to tell you a few dreams that I had. Um, yep. This is not an easy video for me. I already tried to make a video, and I didn't like it, so I deleted. So this is my second attempt, and I'm not exactly in a great mood. So, um, I've had this cough for 20 years. It comes and goes in waves, and this last couple of weeks it's been pretty bad. It's just incessant coughing. So again, I'm not in a very good mood. Plus, I'm having problems with my legs again. So again, I'm not in a very good mood. And so I tried to make this video, and yeah. Um, anyway, I've been thinking about how I've been on YouTube for this will be almost 10 years now. I came on YouTube, and I'm thinking leading up. I was thinking about all the things that led up to it, all the interesting, strange, supernatural, unusual um, incidents that led up to me coming on YouTube. So that was 11 years ago. Uh, yeah, and I just was feeling kind of discouraged about all the effort and time, all the exposure. I've been quite exposing myself to a lot of things, a lot of ridicule, a lot of rejection, a lot of name calling, a lot of things. Anyway, it led me kind of feeling quite 10 years on YouTube and all the censorship, all the um, I mean, I should be kind of encouraged by the fact that I was so heavily censored. I've been in YouTube 10 years, and you could think, okay, well, the reason you don't have very many people viewing your channels because you're crazy. You're a nut. You're a heretic. That's why people don't want you. And I'm thinking, that's not it. Because if I was a heretic and a crazy person, I would have been promoted by YouTube. They would not have had a problem with me at all. You can be crazy, nutty, cuckoo, say the nuttiest, horrible things, and they love you. Why do they love you? Because you're promoting their agenda, which is to hate God, to uh, they're God haters. Okay, they're not Christian believers. They don't believe in the love of God, and they don't want you to promote it. And so, if you're promoting anything that has to do with truth, they got to, and everybody's now finding that out. People who are telling the truth tellers and truth seekers, they will censor you. I've been on YouTube for 10 years, and I've been pretty heavily censored from the time I went on YouTube. And so I should be kind of honored to think, hey, you know what? If I was a crazy liar lunatic, they would have promoted me, and I would have had thousands and thousands of views and thousands of subscribers, and instead of being so heavily censored. So anyway, thinking about 10 years of being on YouTube, and then anyway, it's a very long story. Just stay with me because it's a long story. I'm not going to tell you all the things that had brought me to this, on YouTube, because there was a lot of things, a lot of supernatural experiences, and I was thinking about all the things I had to go through, all the suffering, all the doubts, all the emotional roller coaster rides that I have been on in the last 11 years. Uh, all the things that I've gone through emotionally, physically, mentally, spiritually, things that I've had to deal with, and thinking, so many Christian channels, they promote how wonderful the Christian life is, and it is. I mean, there's no doubt about it. And I wouldn't be a Christian if it wasn't for the fact that that God is with you, and the soul longs for Christ. The soul longs for God. You cannot fill that hole with anything else. Nothing else satisfies the soul than have a relationship with your living God. However, my life has not been fun and pretty for the most part. I mean, I've had moments of happiness, moments of joy. Um, interesting experiences, but for the most part, my life has been one of continual suffering, mentally, emotionally, physically, spiritually. I've had one. It hasn't been a fun, easy experience for me. Life has never been a great. Sorry, put it this way. Just struggling with my words today. Uh, my life has not been one exciting moment after another exciting moment, fabulous, wonderful time. It's been mostly lonely, a lonely life full of quite a bit of rejection. A lot of physical ailments that come and go and different things in my life. And it's all was coming to the head. It basically, all this emotion was coming to a head this last week. This cough has been really bad for the last couple of weeks. I've been really struggling with this cough. Excuse me. Just a second. I'm drinking my lemon and honey in my chipped mug that says live, laugh, and love. It's not exactly my mood that I have right now. My mood is rather dark. It's been for the last few days, actually, so last few weeks. My mood has been rather dark. But talking about dark for a second, it's kind of a cloudy day today. But the last couple of weeks, talking about strange weather, we're in the middle of April. It's April 23rd. So for the last couple of weeks, we've had unusually blue sky. Unusual because I think, well, I know it is because they hadn't been spraying the sky like they normally do. They even announced it that they weren't spraying the sky. Not that they didn't announce that, but they announced, hey, you're going to have a couple of weeks of sunshine, woohoo! Which is very unusual because almost every day they announce that we're going to have rain and cloud. Okay, we've had rain and cloud for the last several years, almost continually, with very, very few moments of warm, sunny weather with blue sky. Almost never, because they spray the sky so heavily. Our weather has been so controlled here in Vancouver, so controlled, um, where they spray the sky with this kind of, I don't know what it is, this white crap that they spray the sky with, and then the clouds start rolling in, and we look like we're gonna have a beautiful sunny day. Within half an hour of spray all over the sky, the clouds roll in, and we're under a gray blanket, and it rains for the next week. Then we think, oh, we wake up and it's going to be a blue sky. It's going to be sunny. It's going to be blue. You spray. The clouds come rolling in and it's gray, and we're under a gray blanket for the next week. This is what we've been living like for the last several years. This is what our weather has been like. It's been so cold and depressive and dark, and who wants to live in Vancouver? It's a horrible place to live when you're under this continual perpetual gray blanket. Well, for some reason, they announced we're going to have sunshine for the next 2 weeks. Well, guess what? We did. Not that they stopped spraying the sky, because they continued to spray the sky, and I knew they did because you could see every now and then you see these ghost planes going over with a white streak, and then you see this green crap that ends up all over everything. It's this powdery green crap. However, they weren't spraying as much green crap as they normally do, because in the summer that's what they spray a lot of this green crap. Excuse my language, but that's what it is. It's like green crap that kind of comes down and coats everything, and it molds everything. It causes everything the fruit and the fruit that you buy, local fruit and vegetables, are all covered in this crap, and they don't look beautiful, not like they did in the past, where the strawberries would be plump and red and oh so juicy. The best tasting strawberries in the world were from Vancouver, the Vancouver area. The best strawberries. They'd be so red inside, like you know how you get California strawberries and they're red on the outside, but you open them up and they're white on the inside. BC strawberries, red on the outside, beet red, dark red, and then the inside just as red. Juicy, delicious fruit. Not anymore. Now they're all covered with green crap. You don't want to eat it. Disgusting. This is what they do. So, anyway, I'm getting off topic here. So, anyway, in the last couple of weeks, we've had this sunny blue skies. And not only are they sunny, it's hot. It's like early summer. Early summer, people. It's like early summer, in the beginning of early spring, and we're already having summer-like temperatures in Vancouver. The wind still has a bit of a chill, but when you're just and there's no wind, the sun beating down, it's like we're in early June. It's like feels like early summer. It's like we've skipped out over a month and a half worth of weather, and we're in early summer. This is not the weather I remember experiencing as a child or growing up or in my 20s. This was not normal. This is not normal April weather. Okay, this is not normal April weather in Vancouver. In April, you're still wearing your coat. You still need a coat and, you know, bring your rain umbrella, and that was normal weather. April showers bring May flowers. Um, my birthday's in May, so I know that May was often, would be nice and sunny usually, but it would also be kind of chilly. You can always have to have a sweater or something on because May would be kind of chilly. Not this year. April, we're having summer-like temperatures. And in fact, down the street from where I live, there's a park, and they have a spray pool, a water park in the park for the kids. And they had it on. They turned it on because it was that warm, and kids were wanting the water park on. In the middle of April? It's so weird. And then my sister's a magnolia tree normally doesn't bloom until late May, early June because the weather changes. It gets warmer, and that's when the magnolia tree blooms. But it's already blooming. Middle of April. It's blooming already. Something weird is going on with our weather. I'm telling you, right now it's kind of gray and cloudy because they've been spraying our skies again. So the clouds are coming in. For the last 3 or 4 days, they've been spray with that stuff that changes the weather. And so we've lost our blue skies, and it's gotten gray again, but not quite as gray as it normally is. Normally, the dark gray clouds come in. Anyway, another subject for another day. Oh, and by the way, my sister saw two doves. We were out in the yard talking, and she says, "Look up!" And we looked up, and there was two doves. They must be nesting in our tree behind the house, because just this morning, as I was making my video, I heard the dove cooing. BC doves are very, very shy. They don't like to expose themselves. You almost hardly ever see them because they are very shy birds, and you almost never see them ever. If you only time you usually hear them, you can sometimes hear them, and they usually come out in, say, you start to see them in uh, mating season, which is in August, and you don't see them, but you hear them rustling in the trees. And look up and you think, what's all that rustling going on in the trees, the cottonwoods and all that? What's all that rustling going on? And you know it's the BC doves because that's what they do in August. They do their mating thing and they rustle in the trees. But you don't see them, but you know they're there. Okay. But my sister saw two doves, I guess mating doves, in the backyard or close to our house up in the wires. And then this morning I heard doves cooing this morning just outside. So they must be mating and nesting in our trees back behind the house. So that's interesting. Just a little sign, I think. Um, so I want to get on to some dreams that I had. Like I said, this last couple of weeks have been particularly difficult for me, and this cough particularly has been really driving me nuts. And I had a fight with a guy in a bakery. Oh, not a fight like a physical fight, but a verbal fight. I was very annoyed. He was annoyed with me because I took his place in the line. I didn't know because he was standing outside the store, and there was no sign in the side outside the store that says only two people allowed in the store. And I wasn't wearing a mask, nor have I been wearing a mask. I would refuse to wear a mask. I'm not going to wear a mask. And plus, when I wear a mask, my oxygen levels drop. I already have problems with my oxygen levels. The last thing I need is to wear a mask to drop my oxygen levels to a point where I'm going to faint. I'm not going to do it. So anyway, this guy was standing outside the store. There's two people in the store, plenty enough room for more people in the store, even if you're going to social distance. But he was standing outside the store, and he said, "There's a lineup." Well, I said, I looked in the store, and I thought, "Oh, okay, I see it. Two people. Okay." So I thought he was waiting for someone inside the store. Turned out he wasn't. He was waiting outside the store because he saw two people in the store. Well, that was his choice. If he wanted to stand outside the door, outside, he could stand outside the door. I wasn't cluing into his message. So I said, "Okay, I see there's two people." I walked in the store to get some bread. Anyway, it must have annoyed him. I'm sure it did, because it ended up in a fight. Because um, as I'm getting my bread and I'm looking at things I want, I turn around and there he is in the store. And I placed my order with the lady about what I wanted from the bakery. And this guy was standing inside the store now, but he was glaring at me. And I turned and looked at him and I said, "Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't realize you were waiting for you were waiting in line." He said, "So I said so." I said, "Well, I apologize." I said, "Well, I'm sorry. I just assumed you were waiting for somebody because you were waiting outside the store. I assumed you were waiting for somebody inside the store." "Well, I wasn't. I was in line." And then he starts to go after me. That's when he starts his attack. He starts, "Wow, who makes you so special that you have to wear a mask?" And blah, 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 blah. And so anyway, I went off. I was like so mad. I was so mad because I'm thinking, here I am. I've apologized for taking this place. Not a big deal. 2 extra minutes he had to wait for his order. But it was like he couldn't wait to jump on down my throat about the fact that I wasn't wearing a mask. So I told him off a few things. I told him, basically said, "You know what? Not wearing a mask because I would faint if I wore a mask. I can't wear a mask. And second of all, if that was any of your business," I said, "besides which, I had COVID last year." He said, "What makes you so special?" I said, "Well, I had COVID last year. It wasn't the worst flu I ever had. I've had a lot of worse flus than that. It was not that bad. 3 days sick, I was over it." And on top of which, what did I say to him? I said, on top of which, 99.2% people who get the COVID survive it. That's almost 100%. I said, so he was mad at me because I was not wearing a mask, and so he decided when I left the store, he comes running after me to take my picture so he could put it on his social media about how horrible I was because I didn't believe in COVID. You know what? I don't care about what your social media says, sir. If you ever find this video, I don't care about your social circle. I don't care what they think. You know what? Go get a life. And in fact, I said to him, "You know what you need to do? You need to go get yourself a life." Okay? He was acting like Hitler Youth. I wish I had said that to him, but he was acting just like Hitler Youth. Anyway, must have been in his 20s. Anyway, that's beside the point. So that didn't make my day very happy, my week happy. And in fact, I've been stewing about it the whole time. I forgave him for the nonsense, but I'm still stewing about it, thinking, this is what they do. They try to control your every move. And they get everybody as their little minions to control you too. You're not acting like the rest of us. You're not in fear and dread. And what makes you so special that you don't have to be in fear and dread like the rest of us? You know what I'm saying? They want us to be in fear and dread. And because you refuse to act like that, because you refuse to be in their fear and dread, then they get angry with you. They want to attack you. This is what Satan does. Satan attacks people because he doesn't want you to be free. He wants your freedom. He wants to take it because he's so bound himself. He's so imprisoned by his own evil that he wants everybody else to be as bound and imprisoned as he, in fact, more. He wants to dominate, imprison, subdue, subject, pound, crush, slaughter. He doesn't care what he does. And this is how the people in our government in Canada are acting right now, in particularly Ontario and Quebec. They're acting like they don't care. They have the nice demeanor. "We're doing it for your safety. That's why you can't take the roads. That's why we're going to demand that you stay home for the next 5 years, 10 years because of COVID. Because we're doing it for your own safety. We don't care whether you have to feed your kids. We don't care whether you have to, walk your dog. We don't care. Just do it for your safety." and for your health and well-being because we're good people. And like, they're smashing their economy. They're smashing the people. They don't care. They don't care. They're telling you we care, but the reality is they don't. They're trying to take every freedom from you. And I think the reason is, I was talking to my friend in Toronto about it. She says, I said, I think it is because they're desperate. Like the government is getting desperate because they'd ordered all these vaccines. They ordered them all in hopes that the majority of the people of Ontario and Quebec would take them. But the reality is, probably not nearly as many people have taken these vaccines as they'd hoped. They were hoping for a mass flood to the hospitals and the clinics to take a vaccine. But the majority of the people of Ontario and Quebec are not taking them. And I think this has got them in a panic. So what do they keep doing? They keep locking down the provinces. In order to what? To starve the people. To get them to say, okay, we'll do it. We'll just so we can get back to work. The people are not doing it. What excuse will they have over the summer when vaccines are still were not being taken? Oh, you've got to take it. You got to take it. We're locking down again because COVID. Well, what COVID? How can it be COVID when it's hot? There's no try to tell the people that viruses. This is what I said to this young man who was in the store. I said, viruses don't live year after year after year. They don't continue for months and months at a time. They only last a few weeks at a time because they don't have that long of a shelf life. And of course he did. Oh, you're an unbeliever. You're an unbeliever in COVID. Yeah. Hello. Wake up and smell the roses. Get an education. These viruses don't live year after year after year. They mutate. They can mutate, but they don't live year after year. Once you've had it, you've done it. Viruses don't go on and on and on and on. So what excuse are they going to get the people to take a vaccine for something that's already done? This is the panic they're in. I think the panic they're in is because the people of Ontario and Quebec aren't taking the vaccines in such droves and numbers, because now that if the people start getting sick, by the way, my friend's downstairs neighbor got COVID after she got the vaccine. They were told that their downstairs neighbor got the COVID, which she was only sick for a couple of days, by the way. She was an elderly woman. She was only sick for a couple of days, but she got the sick after she took the vaccine. So now people are going to take this. People are not taking this COVID in droves, this COVID vaccine in droves. So therefore, what's going to happen? People who took the vaccine are going to get sick. It'll be a minority of the people, but not the majority, which they were hoping, so they could blame it on something else. But now the people who got sick, who are going to get sick from the vaccine, are going to say, "Hey." The people who didn't take it say, "Hey, wait a second, we didn't take the vaccine and we're fine." And the people who took the vaccine got sick. So how is this happening? How did this happen? And I think this is part of the problem, is that as far as the government is concerned, because the people are not going to in droves for the vaccine. They're not doing it. And they're in desperation. They're desperate. And they're doing all kinds of weird, strange, crazy things for the good of the people to try to get them to take the vaccine. And they're doing it here too, in British Columbia. Only I don't watch the news. So I just, as far as I'm concerned, I don't care what they're doing. I just not even watch the news, because all you hear about is COVID, 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 COVID. It's always the only thing that's going on in the world. And it's not. Anyway, that's another story for another day. And that's enough of that. Got that off my chest. So, anyway, so getting back to the dreams that I had. I've had some very strange dreams. So I was in a very funky mood, a very strange, weird mood, and I've been in a strange mood for the last couple of weeks. Enjoying the sunshine, but and that's another thing. Isn't that kind of weird? The sun, this heat, the water spray pool on, the heat in April. What's that about? What is that about? Is it an approach of some comet or something that's heating up the sun? What's going on? Something's happening there, because it's very unusual. So my mood is getting darker and darker. And I'm thinking about the 10 years that I've been on YouTube, all the censorship I've faced, the seemingly lack of fruit, and thinking, what is the point? All I get is rejection. All I get is name calling. All I get is uh, ignored. I seem to be the only one who seems to see these things the way you're showing me, Lord. What is the point? And what's the point of me telling something to somebody out there when I seem to be the only one who's able to see it? If I'm the only one who's able to see it, then what is the point? Why I should just keep it to myself? What if I'm the only one who could see what you're showing me, such as the Holy Spirit, the need for baptism, all these things that you've been showing me, and the bride of Christ, the tribe that the Church of Philadelphia is actually the tribe of Ephraim. What is the point if I'm the only one out there saying this, and I'm the only voice saying it? So what is the point? What is the point of me saying anything if everybody's too afraid? If they know the truth and yet they're too afraid to say the truth, then I'm the only voice and I'm rejected because everyone else is too afraid. Why should I be putting myself in this position? Why should I be bothered with all of this? What is all of this about? 10 years of being going through this pain, the suffering, the emotional ups and downs, the physical discomforts, all the things that I've gone through for this message, if it doesn't make one little bit of difference to hardly anybody out there. 10 years on YouTube. What is the point? So this is where my mind is going. This is my mood. This is my attitude. This is what I'm going through. So this is all building. This is all coming to a head. So then I start having a series of dreams. My hair is very fluffy today. This is the driest, fluffiest part of my head. It's right here in the crown. Curl-resistant hair. It's just big fluff. So hey, it's going to be fluff. It's going to be fluff. Accept it for what it is. Okay? It's one of those kind of like my life. You can't change something. Live with it. Can't change it. Live with it. That's the way it is. So, getting on to this is the hard part. We're talking about this part here. So, I have this dream. I started having a series of dreams. The first dream I had was a few days ago, and it was a dream. See if I can remember the order. Okay, so the first dream I had. It's gone out of my head. Hold on, just to see if I can remember it. Hold on. Okay, the first dream I had was a few days ago, and I'm having a tussle with a group of witches. It's like I'm having a confrontation with a group of witches. I'm on some kind of covert mission, or I'm trying to find out where they were going to have their next sacrifice in order to gain more power over the church, over the power over the bride. And so in this dream, I was kind of like Wonder Woman. I don't know why I was dressed like woman, but I felt like I was Wonder Woman. And this group of witches, men and women, who were coming together for a meeting in order to have a sacrifice. And I felt like they were famous people. I couldn't tell you who they were, but I felt like I knew them and as though they were famous, famous in worldly standards. Um, and I was trying to find out where they were going to do this sacrifice. And they were going to sacrifice someone important. And in fact, they did. When I found out where they were, and I located them, and I infiltrated this building that they were in, went to this basement area where they were having the sacrifice, got in, saw that they had already killed this person that they were sacrificing in order to try to overcome the bride, overcome the church. But the reality is, and then they used my own rope, like a Wonder Woman has a lasso rope, a special rope that has special powers or whatever. They used it, they managed to steal it and try to use it on me. Only I managed to break free and use it on them. So their plans to, even though they sacrificed this person, this man, to gain power, the reality is I still had more power than they did. And they were very arrogant, but I could see the arrogance in their eyes, and like, we're going to get you, we're stronger, we're more powerful. But I still managed to subdue them, and we were waiting for the police. So that was basically the end of that dream. So that was the first one I had a few days ago. Then I had another dream. The next dream I had was I was in my friend in Toronto, who when I see her in my dreams, the Lord is telling me that He's making a move for the Church of Laodicea. Um, Not that she's a lukewarm person, because she's not. She's one of the most passionate people for the Lord that I've ever known. She loves the Lord with her whole heart, and she loves God. She loves Jesus. She loves God, and but I knew when I see her in my dreams, the reason the Lord made her this symbol of the Church of Laodicea is because of her love of purple, because she loves purple. That's one of the first things I ever learned about her years ago, 20 plus years since I've known her. And also because something else too. Her last name, her married last name, is very much like Mazeroth. Okay, it's almost exactly the same as Mazeroth. So the Mazeroth, of course, is a word for the 144,000, which is the Mazeroth, which is the star symbols in the sky. The stars in the sky is, and the story that they tell is the Mazeroth. And the Mazeroth represents the 12 tribes of Israel, or the stars of the story of Israel, Jacob's sons, who is the Mazeroth. And they are the 144,000. They are the Mazeroth. So they are unleashing the Mazeroth. When Christ says, can you unleash the Mazeroth, which is in the book of Job. So interesting. Anyway, the Lord showed me all these things. And so when I see my friend in Toronto, in my dreams, I know the Lord's talking about the Church of Laodicea. So in this dream, my friend drives up in a bus, and this bus is for her family. This bus is an old converted school bus, and she's converted it into a mobile home. Okay, and inside this converted school bus, which is now a mobile home, there are places for her kids to sleep, and for to basically be on the road and to be able to travel, because she wants to be on the move. And so I go on the bus too. She's showing me this around her bus, and inside the bus, she had painted the whole inside of the bus a bright, uh, pale, kind of a pale, soft, pale gold color, which is important. It was a soft, pale color, gold color. And then she was showing me the front of the bus where her and her husband were going to sleep when they weren't driving the bus. They would convert it into a bed. And I was looking at it thinking, okay, I think this is okay, but I think you need more storage. This is what I said to her in the dream. I think you need more storage in this bus. I think you need to put some cabinets in here, and you could put some cabinets underneath the bed and cabinets above the bed, and you could do this, because I think you're going to need more food and storage for clothes and for food. That's what I said to her. And she's like, I don't know. I think we have enough. And I said, well, you might, okay, well, that's why you feel, but I really, truly think you really need more storage for food and clothes. Okay, now let's just go there quickly for Revelation, the book of Revelation, the Church of Laodicea. He tells them he's going to spit them out. So, because they're neither hot nor cold, because they're lukewarm. Because they'll say, I'm rich, increased with goods, and need of nothing, and knows not that thou art wretched, miserable, poor, blind, and naked. So I'm telling her she needs more clothes and more food for this journey. Okay? She's getting ready to go on a journey, and she needs more clothes, storage for clothes and food. And this is what it says here, that she's miserable, poor, blind, and naked. Okay? So not enough clothes. I counsel thee to buy of me gold tried in the fire. Now, inside of the bus was a gold color. It was a light pale gold color that she was driving inside this, but she had painted it. Now, one little detail that I forgot was that there was a tape that went around the whole bus, like inside the bus. It was like a masking tape, like you would put when you're painting the walls, and you put your tape around the edges so that you can edge properly and leave a nice clean line. So that's basically, I grabbed a piece of tape because she had just finished painting, I guess, the bus, because it was just getting ready to go on the road. And I grabbed the tape and pulled it, and the whole bit of tape around the edge came off. So that was the end of the painting. And now my friend was a little upset with me, because she said, oh, well, you know what? I had already finished painting, and now I'm going to have to go back and redo it. And I said, well, listen, I'll help you. Since I took the tape off, I'll help you repaint and make sure that looks really good before it's finished. Okay, that seemed to please her. She's okay, all right, that sounds good. So excuse me. So I promised to help her repaint what I took off. So basically, when you take the paint off, it means that the tape off when you finish the wall. That means you're finished painting. That basically you're ready to go, right? Painting is the last thing you do when you finish something. So, so that's I think was a sign, that dream. So I counsel thee by me gold tried in the fire, that thou may be rich, and white raiment, and thou may be clothed, and that the shame of thy nakedness do not appear, and anoint thy eyes with eye salve, that they may see. As many as I love, I rebuke and chasten. Be zealous, therefore, and repent. Behold, I stand at the door, and if any man hear my voice and open the door, I will come into him and sup with him, and he with me. Him that overcometh will I grant to sit with me in my throne, even as I overcame, and sat down with my Father in his throne. He that hath an ear, let the hear Spirit saith unto the churches. So this was a dream for the church of Laodicea. Must be get ready to go. Something's getting ready to happen for the church of Laodicea. There's at least a move that God is making for the church of Laodicea. Okay, so that's the dream. The second dream I had. Then the night before was this last, yes, not last night, but the night before, I had another dream, and this dream upset me. In fact, it put me in such a bad mood for the rest of the day when I had this dream. This was the dream I had not last night, but the night before. I was in a school with my mother. My mother and I were going to go see the school counselor. The I don't think she was the I don't know whether she was the principal of the school. But anyway, she was like a school counselor, and she had called my mother and I in for a meeting to talk about my schooling. And I knew I was a high school teach a school high school teach. I was a high school student, and I knew that this was my 12th year, and I should have been graduating. But instead of graduating, I wasn't graduating. I had to go back for another year, and I knew that this teacher was going to tell my mother that I would have to go back to school for another year. That I had another year's worth of, I had some credits to make up. And I didn't want to do it. I was really upset. I did not want to go back for another year, and I was upset that I was not graduating. And my mother's like, I wonder why we're being called in. I said, well, I think the reason is because I'm not going to graduate. She's going to tell me that I didn't graduate, and I was going to have to go back to school. And my mother said, well, I don't know if that's really the case. Hold on just a second. Put you on pause. Okay. She said, so I said, I think she's going to tell you that I'm going to have to go back to school and get my credits. And I was not happy. I was really unhappy in this dream. I was pouting. I was sulking. I was miserable. And I was really annoyed that I had to go back to school. And I could see myself in these classrooms and how I would be like sitting there like, you know. But anyway, my mother said, I don't think that's it. I think that's something else. No, so we sat down in front of the counselor, and she was talking to somebody else, and she was distracted before she could talk to us. And I said, no, I think she's going to tell us that I didn't graduate. Well, when she finally turned to us, she said, yes, that's it. That's exactly why you're here. I'm afraid to have to tell you, you didn't graduate. You're going to have to go back and get some more credits before we can graduate you. I was like, oh, great. So again, I was even more unhappy. So my mother and I leave the school, and only to find that we were in Australia. There's my recurring Australia dream, the land down under. Now, I have nothing against Australia. In fact, I always wanted to visit Australia. I did go to Australia, in reality. I lived there for a year, just over a year I was in Australia. It was really a good experience, okay? Um, but I was always interesting. I had these reoccurring dreams where I'm trying to leave Australia. Here in this dream, I'm back in Australia, and maybe that's why I was not happy. But anyway, my mother and I were looking we had found a place to live, and found a place, an apartment above what looked like a bakery, okay, or a bakery or some kind of, you know, quick, like a deli or something. It was a food service um, underneath an apartment. You know how it is. If you walk up to an apartments above, wherever it is, they know it's these stores below. And in this case, it was a deli, a bakery kind of situation. And it's not kind of interesting. I just had this run in with this guy a few days ago, last week, with this guy at the bakery. And, and here I am living above a bakery in this dream. Bakery represents, okay, sandwiches, bread, making of bread. We are the wheat harvest. Okay, so there's that. Anyway, so I'm going up the stairs, and no, I'm not the only one going up the stairs. There's other people going up to their apartments when we go up to the stairs to they were on upper floors. I was on, my mother and I had an apartment on the first floor above the bakery. And as I come to the door of this apartment, this man is coming out. There's a couple of people standing outside the door, and this man comes walking out of our apartment, the one that we just got. And as he comes out, he's coming out. I knew he was a thief, and he was actually kind of bragging to his friends. He had this kind of look of arrogance and mockery, and see, I can do that whatever I want. He was a thief, and he came out of my apartment with the plumbing. He came out with the faucet and the tap. You know that the unit that you put on a sink, the faucet and the taps, and he came out with it. He's walking out of the door with it. And he was kind of got this arrogant look on his face, like, see, I can come in and out of this apartment anytime I want to. And I was annoyed, and I said, "How dare you? You don't have no right to being in this apartment. You get out get out right now." And so anyway, he was very arrogant, and I shut the door, went inside. My mother wasn't with me at that moment, but I went in, shut the door, and then I was thinking, oh, and I saw other faucets, like these faucets that were should have been on a sink, but they were on the floor. So I thought, oh, at least I can replace the faucet, the one he took, with whatever was left on the floor here. I could replace it. So it looked like he was coming back to get more because my mother came into the apartment, and so both of us were standing in there in the hallway of this apartment when this man again picked the lock to the door and opened the door. He had every intention to come in to take more faucets, to take whatever was left behind. There was a furnished apartment, but he was only seemed to be interested in the faucets, so that he was intending to take. So I said, no, you're not allowed in. You cannot come in here. How dare you? And I was saying this to him, the landlord, the people from down below came up to the first floor, and I said, look, this guy is breaking into our apartment, and that's got to stop right now because this is the third time he's done this. Now, interesting, I said third time. My mother and I both said at the same time, my mother who was with me, we both said he's done it 3 times. Now, as far as I was there, as far as I was concerned, what I saw, he only did it 2 times. But for some reason, I said he did it 3 times. What that means exactly, I don't know. But 3 seems to be a strong emphasis that this is a thief who comes in to kill, steal, and destroy. So we both said at the same time, he's done it 3 times. So the landlord takes care of it. I shut the door on this guy's face again and shut the door on him. And I didn't seem to be worried about him after that moment. It's like he just kind of, okay, that's done. That part of the dream is done. We've taken care of this thief. So my mother and I go into this apartment, and there's a big living room area. And there must have been a back door entrance to this apartment. But anyway, I'll get to that in a second. So in the meantime, my mother and I are settling into this apartment, and we're in the living room, and suddenly the door opens because all these children start walking in. Now, I didn't seem to be upset about these children walking in. I was upset about this man who's a thief coming in to take the plumbing, but I wasn't worried about these children coming in. And I knew that they were the neighbor kids, maybe from the same apartment building or from the neighborhood. I don't know, but there were several of them, and they felt welcome, and they came walking into the apartment, and I wasn't upset about this. And neither was my mother. In fact, in my dream, my mother was absolutely ecstatic that these children came walking into the apartment, because my mother in real life loves children, and she had 9 kids. 8 she raised to adulthood, whereas the youngest died in a or from being hit by a car when she was 6. So, but my mother raised 8 children to adulthood, and then after she did that, she got her early childhood education certificates, where she became a preschool teacher. And then after that, after she retired, she then raised her grandchildren. So my mother was always around kids. She loves children. So when she saw these children come into the apartment, she was ecstatic. She was so happy. And then um, so she's playing with these kids, and she's especially these two little boys that she was just having a great time with. And I was sitting on the sofa in this living room. I don't know what I was talking to with these kids about. I don't know I don't think that was really important. But excuse me. So in the meantime, like I said, there had to be a back step entrance or back door entrance to this apartment, because the strange thing happened is that this woman who was from downstairs in this bakery comes upstairs, and she's got a tray of food with her, and she's coming to bring us food. And one of the things she brings us, the first thing she brings us is a these bags. They were about this tall, clear cello bags that you would get, like you would put bakery items in or treats. Um, she was handing them out to everybody, to me and the kids and my mother, and we all got a bag of this, whatever she was handing out. And what she was handing out looked like uh, great big, well, clusters of grapes. They looked like grape clusters, okay? But the grapes weren't like little tiny little grapes like this. They were like the size of a golf ball, okay? Each grape was like the size of a golf ball. And she was handing them out to each of us. And they were opening the bags, and the kids were eating these grapes. I was looking at them thinking, these look curious. These are kind of strange looking grapes. They're awfully big. And then I realized they weren't actually grapes. They were grape shaped, but they were actually chocolate. So they were molded chocolate that were to look like grapes. And so although I didn't eat it, I love chocolate, I didn't eat these chocolate grapes. I just didn't. But although I thought they were curious. And the second thing happened. This She came back with another she came back with some more fruit. She came back with what looked like little brown lychee, little lychees. But the fruit was, you didn't peel the the brown part off, you ate the whole thing. And so I did eat those, and I wasn't overly impressed with the taste of them, mind you, but I nonetheless, they're fruit, and so I ate that fruit. And then she came back a third time with, I guess there's a number three. She came back three times with fruit. She came back a third time with what looked like a chocolate pod, but it was soft, more like but it was like a soft chocolate pod. And when I opened it, I squeezed the fruit out. Squeezed the fruit into my hand, and I ate it from my hand. And a little boy came up to me, and he was eating the fruit too from my hand, as we were both eating what looked like chocolate seeds. Like the way you get a chocolate cocoa pod, and inside are the seeds. Well, that's what it looked like when I squeezed the fruit into my hand. They looked like chocolate cocoa seeds, and we were eating this fruit, and it was fruit. And there were things that I never ate before. And I was saying to myself, this is a very unusual fruit. This is strange fruit. I've never eaten this kind of fruit before. So three times this woman had brought this strange fruit into this living room where we were with these children. So that was that dream. Unusual dreams. Okay. That was the end of that dream. Then then I had so wait, just remember that I had that dream before the school, or I'm trying to remember the order. Oh, okay, that's the school. Okay, that's the school dream. And so I told you the dream about the witches. I told you the dream about the bus. And then I had the dream about the fruit and the school and the fruit. So then yesterday, my mood was increasingly low because of this dream I had about going back to school and not being able to graduate. I was so upset. I was like, the whole day, I was trying to hold back my upset. My mood was dark. I was depressed. And although I was trying to watch videos that were uplifting, I just couldn't find anything. I was like, oh, I was more upset more than anything because all the confusion and why is the world so confused? The confusion of the world that's in we're in, the confusion in the church. The church isn't so confused. Why is everything so complicated? Why can't Christians get it right? Why are we always arguing with one another? Why are we always fussing with one another? Why is there always one group means this and one other group thinks that and blah blah blah? How come we can't come into agreement? What is going on here? Why are we always fussing and fighting with each other and we can't seem to come into any conclusions and stick to it? Why are we so divided? Of course, that's satanic. Of course, Satan, of course, is dividing us. Satan wants us to be confused. That's part of the whole plan. It's the mind control game. He's controlled our minds so that we can't even see the truth when it's in front of your face. Okay? Even when you can present somebody with the truth, they call themselves Christians, people who are Christians, but you can present them with the truth right in front of their face and show them step by step by step by step by step by step. This is what it means, and they will still not get it because their mind is under control. Christian minds who are under control, we're all mind control. All of us are mind controlled to a certain extent. What God is trying to do is break us free from that mind control. This is what this whole battle is about. Mind control. Jesus came to break free the people from the mind control of the religious system that we've all been under. And like I said, you can show people this, and they still won't get it. Why? Because of mind control, which is why the Lord has me under constant brain surgery, which is how I've been telling you. I've been under this constant brain surgery. So when I wake up, I get a new revelation. Why? Because our minds are controlled by satanic forces, by thousands of years of training from satanic forces, lies and deceptions of the Garden of Eden. When we ate that fruit, it put our mind under the control of Satan. We have been under mind control since the Garden of Eden. That's 6,000 years of mind control we're fighting against, which is why we're all in different stages of mind control. Even Christians, especially Christians, God is trying to break us free from that mind control, and Satan's trying to constantly put us back in that that mind controlled place, which is why he's so desperate. If you think about the vaccines, the big V, what is it all about? It's about mind control. It's to turn off your mind so he can plant suggestions in your head easier, so that you're more easily suggestible, so that you are more manipulated and easy to control. That's what the purpose is, to turn off your mind, to turn off your third eye, to turn off those synapses in your brain that connect the truth and put all the dots together. He's desperate to keep us under mind control, which is what the purpose of these vaccines have been about. Mind control. So that's why we're always fussing and fighting with it, and why you can show people the truth, and you can show them the errors of their ways and their theologies and blah 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 blah. You can show them what Jesus said, and they will still reject it. Even Christians will reject the words of Christ and say, no, what it really means is this. I don't really believe that Jesus really said that or what he really meant that. What he really meant was this, this, and this, and this. Because Satan, remember, is even got control of the Christians' minds. Which is why, like I said, I'm under this constant brain surgery to reconnect those areas in the brain, those ideologies and theologies, the lies and deceptions that we've all been under, even myself, have been under for thousands of years, to remove those blockages so that I could see things and we can see things clearly. But the frustration I've been coming into is last thinking to myself, I've been on YouTube 10 years. 10 years. And they're telling me that I'm only getting like 50 views per video. 10 years? How is that possible? Is it that my message is so wrong? No, it's because it's so radical. My message is believe Jesus, believe the Bible, repent, be baptized, and receive the indwelling of the Holy Spirit. And of course, that's too radical for most Christians. Most Christians don't want to hear that. What? They call themselves Christians, and yet they will refuse to do what Christ tells them to do? They won't do it because it's radical. And the last thing the YouTube algorithm, those people who control all the social media, the last thing they want is the truth. Now, if I was a true radical, if I was a heretic, if I was all the things that some people think of me as, if I really was, I would have thousands, maybe even millions of viewers by now after 10 years on YouTube. But since the first time, since I came on YouTube, I have been censored. 10 years I've been censored on YouTube. And I was getting more frustrated. And yesterday I was in this mood of thinking, what is the point? What fruit do I have, Lord? What is the fruit? 40 views per video where I have exposed myself, exposed all this stuff. You're showing me things that they can't see, even though they show them right to their face and show them the verses, their minds can't absorb it and reject it. And then they call me a heretic and a rebel and blah, 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 blah. Rejected by everybody. What is the point of me being on YouTube? Really, seriously, what is the fruit of all this? What is this about? If I'm the only one who's able to see these things, or at least it seems that way because of the censorship, I don't know, because I can't turn on my comments, and the comments I get, because I've turned on my comments, they're redirected to somebody else who's answering on my behalf and who knows what they're saying to make me look even more crazy as far as they're concerned. More radical. So I had to turn off my comments. And the ones I were getting, of course, they were very, there most of a couple of, I get maybe one or two comments. They were very nice comments, for the most part. But I got nothing else. I'm thinking, what happened to my comments? I'm supposed to have 400 subscribers, and I only get 2 comments? What? Does this make sense? It doesn't. Because right from the start, my channel's been censored, and I've been telling you this. Censored from the start. Now, like I said, if I was truly a heretic, Satan would have loved me. Because that's what he wants. He wants confusion. He loves the confusion. He loves the fights. He loves all this stuff going on between Christians. He lives for it. And here I am trying to straighten out the mess. The Lord is putting me under this constant brain surgery, which has led me to all kinds of physical ailments that I've had to go through, suffering, emotional and spiritually, all kinds of roller coaster rides that I've gone through in the last 10 years, 11 years of my life. Because 1 year before this all started 11 years ago, 1 year before I came on YouTube. And so now I've been on YouTube for 10 years, and I'm thinking, what is the fruit? What is the point? And I said this to the Lord yesterday. I was like, came yesterday evening. I'm going, Lord, I'm tired. I'm done. I think I'm done with YouTube. I think I'm never going to go back. There is no point. What is the point? So I'm standing in the presence of the Lord, pouring out my heart, saying, I don't get it. What is the point of all this? I'm frustrated. I'm angry. I'm hurt. I get attacked when I go to the bakery. I get yelled at. I get rejected. I get called names. I get blah, blah, blah. What is the point? Why am I doing this? Why am I doing this? Why have you put me through this? So I sit down in my chair because my legs can't hold me any longer. And I'm sitting down in my chair and I said, okay, the only place I can really go to is the Father. I can't talk to Jesus about it. He never really talks to me anyway. That's another one of my frustrations. My relationship with Jesus is very complicated. I love him with my whole heart. But he frustrates me because he doesn't have a verbal relationship. He and I don't have a verbal relationship. So, every now and then he gives me a little phrase here or there, maybe a word or two. But he and I don't have a verbal relationship. Her relationship is more emotional. And my relationship with the Lord is he gives me dreams and visions in order for me to figure out. It's like he says, Barbara Jean, here's the message. He gives me a dream, he gives me a vision, and I'm having to try to understand it. I'm having to try to puzzle through it and try to come to some conclusions about what he's just shown me. Okay, so it's frustrating. It's a frustrating relationship. It's interesting. It's obviously what I need in our relationship. That's what it's supposed to be. But that's the way he works with me. Okay, and it's a little frustrating. So when I'm really that frustrated, the only person I really can go to is the Father. That's it. So I sat down in my chair, closed my eyes, and I went to the throne room of God, and I ran to the Father, and I wrapped my arms around his leg, because I sat at his feet, and I wrapped my arms around his leg, And I cried my heart out. Just cried and cried and cried and boo-hooed, and it carried on and had a fuss and blah, 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 and on and on. It's like, what is the point? I don't understand. I don't get it. And I was really that mad. I was really that upset. And I was like, no, I always know the beautiful thing about the Father, my relationship with the Father, is He never rejects me. He's not up there going, Barbara Jean, time to grow up. Stop complaining. Blah 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 blah. He never does that to me ever. He treats me like a loving child, and he loves me. And so I know when I'm in this kind of state, the only one I can go to is the Father. So I run to him, I put my arms around him, and I'm complaining my heart out, just yelling, not yelling, but crying out to the Lord, saying, Lord, I don't get it. I don't understand what this is all about. 10 years on YouTube, 10 years. And what's my fruit? What have I gotten from all this? What is the point of pouring out my heart, exposing myself to utter strangers who don't care one little bit? And what have I got? What is this all about? So then, the Lord hears my pleas. I'm still in an upset state. I'm still sitting there like I don't get it. So anyway, I sit back, and of course the anointing, the heaviness is always there. It hasn't abated at all. And I'm sitting there, and I go into sleep. I go to sleep. I start to sleep. I start to dream. And last night I had a series of dreams. And most of the dreams, I'm not going to go into detail because they were quite interesting and disturbing dreams, but they were about the post-rapture world. Okay? Um so I'm having all these series of dreams about the post-rapture world. One of the first dream I had was I was being raptured. The first dream I had was um, I was with a small group of people, and one woman was with me, and I don't know who the rest were. They were kind of in the background, but these other people were with me, and they were fussing and fighting with each other and carrying on and tussling with one another. And this woman and I were looking up. I said, look, the rapture's getting ready to happen. You guys cannot be distracted like this. You've got to stop being distracted. You've got to stop letting the world distract you. You've got to stop fighting with one another. The Lord is coming. You've got to look up and be ready. Oh, we're ready. We're ready. We're going to look up. And so they stopped fighting for a moment. And then as soon as a moment or two went by, they were back to fighting with one another. Anyway, this woman and I were looking up. And in the distance, I could see the city, part of the city. And above us was this gray stormy cloud. Everything was stormy looking. Then all of a sudden, it was like an open door, an open window in these clouds. This bright light shone down on the city, and I could see people. Even though it was in the distance, I could see people going up in this light, and we knew the rapture was happening. And I was telling the people around me, "You've got to stop fighting with one another. Stop being distracted. The Lord is coming. He's coming to rapture us right now. You've got to stop." Oh, we're ready. We're ready. They said, "We're ready." And then, as soon as we were waited for another few moments, they were back to fighting with one another and tussling with one another and blah 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 blah. So the next thing you know, the light is above us, and this woman and I, we were ready. We were looking up. We were looking up, and we were ready, and we were taken up. And the ones who were tussling and fighting with one another, they were left behind. So when this woman and I got up to where we were, it was kind of like a ship. We were in a ship of some sort. And the first thing that I said, we've got to find out what's going on back there. We've got to find some place. We've got to find some way to find out what's happening down there on Earth. Now that we've gone and they're left behind, we've got to find out. So this woman and I, she was blonde, short blonde hair. We found a room in this what looked like a ship, and it was like a viewing room, and they had monitors. And we turned on the monitor to find out what was happening when we were taken, taken. And then I started having a series of dreams, and I woke up in between a lot of these dreams. There was about four of them. I think I had about four different dreams in the night about different things that were happening, and mostly it was about um, um, people confused. There was confusion. There was um, um, destruction of property. There was lack of food. People looking for food. That's basically the gist of the dreams that I had from that moment. Like I said, I had about four dreams. When I woke up, I went back to sleep. They were about different post-rapture events and things that were going on in the world. And about how people were going to survive and what the things they were going to be concerned with, looking for shelter, looking for food, going back to places that had been destroyed, hoping to find something there that were left behind. Um, different things like that. So yeah, that's what my dream. That's what happened last night. So that's what I woke up to this morning. So I started thinking, whoa, what was that about? Oh, I mean, is that the way? I mean, I come to you for comfort, Lord, and you give me this. You give me this dream about being left behind and all that. What is that? Is that really going to encourage me after what I said to you last night and how I felt? I mean, that doesn't make sense, Lord. I don't get it. So then I started thinking about all the series of dreams and all the things that I went through in the last week or so, and starting with the bakery incident, and all the, like this. Oh, what is this all about? 10 years of being on YouTube, and what's fruit have I got? And blah blah blah. Well, then I started thinking about the dream about the fruit, and then the dream about my friend, the move of the Laodicean church. Um, you need more. You need more food. You need more clothes. You need more storage. You need to be looking out for these things. And then they have this post-rapture dreams about people looking for food, looking for ways to survive, and like, whoa, this is. And then going back to school and being frustrated, and it's like this Lord is trying to tell me something here. This is something. Anyway, I'm still trying to make heads or head tails of a lot of what the Lord was telling me, but what came to me was that this is going to be a time of harvest of a strange fruit. Um, it was not going to be pretty. It was not going to be easy. He's going to take his church. He's going to take his bride, who is the tribe of Ephraim, which I've explained in my last videos that we are Ephraim, um, and that Ephraim will explain to you. I'll just explain a little something and go back here a little bit. Remember in my last video I was talking about the chessboard and how the queen makes all the moves on the board, including the king. She makes the moves of the king. She can imitate all the moves on the board except for one, and that was the knight. She does not make the knight's move. The knight represents the army. The knight represents justice. The knight represents warfare. It is not the bride's job to do warfare. And it's the same thing in the church. The bride is going to be removed from the wrath of God. The 144,000 are going to be left behind, plus those who are going to be part of the rape, the wrath of God, that judgment that comes upon the earth. God's judgment comes upon the world with the Laodicean church. And he counsels them to buy white raiment or try gold tried in the fire, so that they can wear their white raiment. And so interesting. The grapes of wrath, of course, in the book of Revelation as well. The harvest, the grape harvest, is when Christ, Revelation chapter 15, I think 14, 15, when you see the 144,000 removed, before God's final wrath falls upon the earth, upon the heads of those who have taken the mark of the beast. He first has a wine harvest, a grape harvest. And so in this dream about having to go back to school, and I was upset because I didn't graduate, and then this bakery brings up this these chocolate grapes for everyone to eat, and then the strange fruit that I never eaten before. Um, and I think what the Lord has been telling me, and what this was saying, was that the Lord, all the things that I've been doing have been preparation. I may not be able to see the fruit of it at this moment, and it may not seem like I'm actually graduating, but the Lord has a purpose for the world. The graduation comes with the wine harvest. Okay? The graduation comes with the wine harvest. And it's not going to be pretty. It's not going to be easy. It's going to be a really, really hard time for a lot of people who are going to be left behind from the rapture. Um, but it's going to be necessary. Um, the faucet being taken was a sign of when I started looking into when I was telling you about the tribe of Ephraim and how the tribe of Ephraim, of course, represents the bride. The fruitful abundance of fruit. If Ephraim itself means double fruit, by the way, it means fruitfulness. It means double portion fruitful, great fruit, abundant fruit. Um, um, but when you look at the blessings of Joseph in the book of Genesis, when Jacob blesses Joseph, he blesses them with running waters, um, fruitfulness, um, and then he blesses Ephraim and Manasseh and is blessed again in the blessing of Moses to the tribes. Ephraim is given a blessing. Um, anyway, you can look that up yourself in the book of Genesis and Deuteronomy. At the end of end of the book of Deuteronomy, you'll find Moses' blessing, and on Joseph, and you will find um, the blessing of Ephraim and Manasseh in, I think, Genesis 30 something, 39 something. But anyway, it's near the end of the book of Genesis. You can look it up yourself. So too long for me to go through that explanation again. But anyway, I began to think that I was thinking about the third temple and how when Christ comes, when he went and cleansed the temple, the second temple, he drove out the money changers, which of course is the Church of Laodicea as well, because it talks about money. It's the church that he talks about money with. He doesn't talk about money with the other six churches. He talks to the church of Ephesus about their candlestick because their lack of love being removed if they don't repent. The church of Smyrna, he tells them that they are poor and they're going through great tribulation, and some of them have to die. This is the church of persecution, but he tells them how blessed they are because they will not be hurt by the second death. The church of Pergamum, he talks to them about idolatry, and that he will, those who overcome, he will give them hidden manna and a white stone. Those who overcome these false doctrines and the idolatry. He talks to Thyatira about their works and that they have great works, but they can also be controlled by the Jezebel spirit. Um, if they don't repent, they need to repent of the Jezebel spirit. And then he talks to um, Sardis about their lack of works, and if they don't repent, and that they'll be caught unaware like a thief. Basically, Christ will come and take the church in the end of the church age, or the grace age of grace, which is the grace church, is the church of Sardis, greasy fish. Sardis, if you think the Lord told me this not too long to always remember Sardis, because Sardis is like sardines, oily fish, oily fish. Okay, but they lack works, and those who are who refuse to clean up their act, they will be come upon like a thief, and Christ will end basically ends the age of grace, which is this like a thief when he comes to take the church, and they will be left behind. Okay, if they have no works. Um, Church of Philadelphia, he promises to remove them from the hour of temptation, um, and they will become pillars in the temple. Now, this is where the point I want to get to was that Christ, when he came to clean the temple out, he cleaned them of the money changers and those who sold doves, which I thought was rather interesting. Though he who sells doves. Now, interesting, I had just a sign the other day with doves. In the Song of Solomon, Christ describes his bride as having dove's eyes. Isn't that beautiful? So his bride has dove's eyes. In other words, gentle as doves. Wise as serpents, but gentle as doves. We don't have that warring attitude. Christ did not give his church, his bride, a warring spirit, that warrior spirit. We are lovers. We're his lover. Okay? We are the bride, church, the tribe of Ephraim. We are the lover church, which is why he calls us to Philadelphia, brotherly love. Love those who love the world, those who love their fellow man. We love God. We put him first. He is our lover. He's our Solomon. Okay, he's our King Solomon, and we are his bride. So anyway, the other day, my sister and I were in the garden when it was a beautiful sunny day, warm like summer, like early summer. And my sister says, "Look up." And we looked up, and there was two doves sitting on a wire above, close to my sister's house. And BC doves are very, very shy. You almost never see them. They're very, very rare to see. In fact, and I saw a dove, a BC dove, myself, before this, a couple of days before this, in a tree, which was so unusual to see them. I saw a BC dove a couple of days ago, and then a couple of days previous to this, and then a couple of days ago, my sister said, "Look up," and there was two doves sitting close to the house. And apparently, I think they've made a nest outside my sister's in my yard. There's in a tree outside my sister's yard. I'm sure they did because this morning when I was making a video early in my first video, I heard doves cooing. So must be a sign because you almost never see BC doves. You hear them fluttering around in the trees in the summertime, but you almost never see them. They're very shy. So anyway, getting back to the story, so it must be a sign. I think that's a sign. So anyway, the Church of Philadelphia is promised to be pillars in the temple. Now, what does Jesus say about his temple? When you go to, he says that my house will be a house of prayer. My house will be a house of prayer. When he tossed them out, these money changers and those people who sold doves. um, which is interesting because up to that point, dove selling was quite common, and in fact was even in the book of Deuteronomy, in the book of Numbers, Deuteronomy, when they were talking about acceptable sacrifices for sins and or for events in your life. For instance, when a woman gives birth, it was quite acceptable to offer doves for her cleansing. Okay, so but in this case, when Jesus cleansed his temple, he was upset with the dove sellers. He said, "That's it, no more dove selling." Because also the doves represent the Holy Spirit, those who are indwelled with the Holy Spirit. That happened when Christ was baptized, and it happens when we're baptized. When we're baptized into Christ Jesus, the Holy Spirit comes and indwells with us. So therefore, we are equated with doves. I don't think I really have to explain it, but for some people who've never seen it, if they ever see this video, they won't know that. So now you know. So he tells the Church of Philadelphia that we are pillars in his temple. In the book of Revelation, chapter 7, when after he seals the 144,000 to get them through the tribulation that's getting ready to happen, he seals the 144,000 for to help with the redemption of those who were left behind, particularly Israel. But then we see in Revelation chapter 7, you see this multitude who is Ephraim, the tribe of Ephraim, who is not mentioned in the 144,000. The tribe of Ephraim is not mentioned in the 144,000. Whereas the Ephraim, well, of course, Revelation chapter 7, verse 9, the ones who are removed from the hour of tribulation, Church of Philadelphia. And they are in the temple serving him day and night. So we are in his temple. He's removed us in the rapture. And we are serving him day and night, and we are neither thirsty anymore, hunger. We don't have to worry about anything. Everything's taken care of. We're in our new bodies. We have been changed. We've been altered into this immortal perfection. Then in Revelation chapter 7, excuse me, 8, God opens the seventh seal. The seventh seal is opened. And this is when the God's wrath begins to be poured on the earth with fire, which is what he tells the Laodicean church. I tell you to buy gold from me tried in the fire. Here is the fire. The fire starts to happen. He's going to throw down incense, which is fire from the altar, but mingled with the prayers of the saints. Why is that important? The prayers of the saints are what's going to preserve the people on earth. Okay? There's going to be billions of people who will die from this experience, from this fire coming down from heaven. But if it wasn't for the prayers of the saints mingled in with the wrath of God, there would be no one left. No one would survive. Nobody would survive the wrath of God and this fiery judgment if it wasn't for the prayers of the saints mingled in with the wrath of God. Because God's house is a house of prayer. That's why he takes us to heaven to pray for those who are left behind so that they will survive. For at least a great many of them will survive it, because otherwise they will not. So he takes his church, he takes his bride, who's not going to be uh, exceed the wrath of God, who's not going to see it, because God promises that we are not appointed to wrath, because we are his bride in his body. He's not even going to leave your DNA. He's not going to, he's going to raise you up from the dead, because he's not even going to allow your DNA to experience his wrath, because it's not appointed to you. You're not appointed to wrath who are in Christ Jesus. Okay. So just say that this incense, which you find in Revelation chapter 8, God is going to pour down his wrath upon the earth with fire. And the prayers of the saints is what preserves the people from total and utter destruction. Okay, so that's important. God needs our prayers. He's going to need our involvement in the heavenly places to keep the earth from completely being destroyed. Which gets me, of course, to my dreams that I was having about my friend who was in the yellow bus, school bus, and it's painted gold on the inside. And I was telling her, you need more storage. You're going to need more than what you think you do right now. Okay? She wasn't sure about that. And I said, okay, well, I think you really do. I think you need more. So God is getting ready to do something, and then I can perhaps it's the Lord telling me it's on the move. That movement of the Laodicean church is on the move, and they're going to need more storage. So that's something that you're going to have to, that the spirit of the bride is giving to the church of Laodicea right now to help them prepare. The Another thing I was thinking about the third temple was, again, I was thinking about the two witnesses. And a lot of fussing and fighting that I've been hearing a lot about is, so we must be in the seven seals now, blah, blah, blah. No, people, we're not there. When the Church of Laodicea the Church of Philadelphia is taken, that doesn't happen until the sixth seal. And we're almost there now. We're at the sixth seal when the heavens open up and the rapture of the church happens. When exactly it happens, this year, next year, 10 years from now, I don't know. But I do know that we're not at the Antichrist experience yet. Antichrist does not show up yet, people. How long does it take for you to get that to your head? I mean, this is like one of the examples I'm telling you about. You can show someone, you can show them, but because their mind is so convoluted with lies and deceptions of 6,000 years of training, that you can show them and they will still not get it, even though it's blatant in their face that the Antichrist does not show up till after the third temple is built, and it's not built, and it cannot be built until the third church, the church of Ephesus, the church of Philadelphia is removed from in the tribulation, before the tribulation. You can show them. It's in the scriptures. It's so easy to see, but they can't perceive it. And so they keep trying to make, oh, this means this, and this actually, that doesn't really mean, they can't perceive it. And it boggles my mind at how easy it is. It's not hard, but you can show them and they won't perceive it. They can't see it. What? I don't get it. How can you not see something that's so easy? Just read it. Just read it. Just read it. The Antichrist doesn't show up until after the third temple's built. But anyway, when the third temple is built, a lot of times I've heard people say that this is the Antichrist's temple. It's not. It's not the Antichrist's temple. The Antichrist desecrates the temple. He didn't build the temple. It's God's temple. God builds this temple. And what's interesting about the third temple is that the two witnesses, why are the two witnesses there in front of the third temple? Think about this for a second. In chapter 10 of Revelation, he gives John this scroll to eat. And then he tells him he's going to have to go and prophesy, and that he was going to be going back to the earth to prophesy. And then you see in Revelation chapter 11 these two witnesses in front of the temple, the third temple. Whose temple is it? It's not the Antichrist temple, because the Antichrist has not yet arisen. And the Antichrist didn't build this temple. God gives the blueprints to the temple to John in Revelation chapter 10. The blueprints for the temple are given to John. Now, the Jews right now in Israel may be making their plans for this temple. This is what they're going to do, and this is da, 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 da. Believe me when I tell you, They're not going to be doing anything unless the Lord has given approval to it. Okay? Whether the temple plans that they have right now are going to be the ones that are going to be used, or whether they're not. Whatever it is, John is given the blueprints. In Revelation chapter 10, John is given the blueprints. From who? From God. Not from the Antichrist, not from Satan. And is it Daniel who says that the Antichrist will go into the temple of God to proclaim that he's God? What? He goes into whose temple? His temple? No, he doesn't say Antichrist goes into the Antichrist temple to claim that he's God. No, he goes into what temple? He goes into the temple of God. He goes into God's temple. Now, on earth as it is in heaven. Okay? So the spiritual Israel, the spiritual Jews who are the tribe of Ephraim, are raptured out of the world to go to what? The spiritual temple in the New Jerusalem. That's our home. We go to the third temple in heaven, on earth as it is in heaven. So now since there's a temple in heaven, there has to be a representation of it on earth. So that's when that temple is built. It cannot be built until that third temple in heaven is opened. That temple has to be opened in heaven first before it can be opened on earth. And that blueprint will be given to John in Revelation chapter 10. It's given to John. That's when that third temple is built, and it's only by the specification of God. It's God's temple on earth. Okay? It's not the Antichrist's temple. It is God's temple. And the Antichrist goes into that temple to desecrate that temple, to claim that he's God. That's when the wrath of God falls on him. That's when he's indwelt with the spirit of Satan himself. God gives him, Satan gives him his authority when he desecrates that third temple, God's temple. And that's when God's wrath falls upon him fully. When he does that move, when he makes that move, that gives God the legal right to come down and destroy him. Okay? So the two witnesses, what are the purpose of the two witnesses? To keep that temple from being destroyed, from keeping that temple from being, from being desecrated. The two witnesses keep that temple for 3.5 years from being desecrated. They are there not to keep people from going in or people coming out. The purpose of the two witnesses is to prophesy about the perfection of this temple, is to prophesy about God's perfect union with his bride, is about prophesying about God's vengeance on anybody who will go into this temple to desecrate it. Their prophecy is to keep that temple from being desecrated before its time. Because 3.5 years they go by and they're standing in front of the temple, not to keep people from going in, but to keep them from going in to desecrate it, to keep the Antichrist out of the temple. Think about that. It's to keep the Antichrist out of the temple. Then they're killed in the streets. They rise up after 3.5 days and they ascend to heaven, which prepares the people for the wine harvest, which prepares them because once the whole world sees these two people rise from the dead right before their very eyes through satellite television and all the other things, the internet, whatever it is, they're going to be this witness that they cannot deny. And as a result of it, millions, if not billions of people will not take the mark of the beast. That's when the Antichrist rises. He's already in power, but he's not exposed himself yet. 3.5 years keep him from the restrained from taking that possession of that temple. 3.5 years, the Lord allows that the temple to stand there undesecrated for the worshipers, true worshipers who want to go in and out and not desecrate it. Then 3.5 years go by. These two witnesses are killed. Then they rise up, and then people who've been still on the edge, still even having going through the tribulation of the fiery judgment that the Lord brings upon the earth. There's still a lot of people, especially in Israel, if they can imagine that, still hard-hearted, still hard to perceive the truth of God's Messiah. They still are like they don't get it. What? To me, that boggles your mind. It boggles my mind that you could be so delusional that it takes that long, and all that the fiery judgment, The locusts, all the things that the Lord promises with the seventh seal, and they still didn't get it. So the Lord allows them to build this third temple under John's specification. The two witnesses keep that temple from being desecrated for 3.5 years, and then they're still deceived. There's still going to be people who are going to be utterly deceived by this Antichrist. But there's going to be a great number of people who will not. Finally, their hearts will be open. Finally, their eyes will be open. Finally, they'll get it. Finally, they'll understand. Well, look at what it says here in Revelation chapter 3, the church of Laodicea. Look what he says to them. Because they're neither hot nor cold, I will spit you out of my mouth. You say I'm rich, increased with good, need of nothing, knows not that thou art wretched, miserable, poor, blind, and naked. This is the state they're in. And this is how much it's going to take. It's going to take all of that for them finally to open up their eyes. I counsel thee to buy me gold tried in the fire, that thou may be rich, and white raiments, that thou may be clothed, and that the shame of thy nakedness do not appear, and to anoint thy eyes with eye salve, that they may see. As many as I love, I rebuke and chasten. Be zealous, therefore, and repent. It's going to take all of that for them to finally see it clearly. Oh my gosh, how deluded and mind controlled can you be? That's pretty mind controlled. That is pretty mind controlled, if you ask me. And it's going to take an awful lot to break that delusion from them. And when they finally wake up and see it, they're going to have to make a choice. And the choice is to have your heads cut off for Christ or take the mark of the beast. And guess what, people? A lot of them, and unfortunately, probably most of them, will take the mark of the beast. But a great remnant will flee. It says when you see the desecration, when you see the Antichrist go into the temple of God and proclaiming he's God, that's when you flee Jerusalem. So he's talking specifically to people in Israel at this time. When you see this happen, flee. Don't wait. Get out and run. Okay? So, like I said, there's all this confusion. Why is it so confused? I don't understand. It has to be mind control. Utterly, completely, 100% mind control that has kept all of us so confused and running around fighting and fussing with each other so we don't have our eyes looking up. Which brings me to this. I keep saying I'm going to make a video about this movie, Contact. I have the book. I didn't read the book because I found it too difficult. And it's quite different from the movie, actually. But what I love about this book, and I should really make a video on it. What I love about this book, although I don't agree with all the things that was in the movie, was it's about a woman who keeps looking up. She cannot stop. She refuses to allow anyone to stop her from looking up. She knows her answers is in the stars. She knows her answer is up there. And no matter how people are trying to keep her from doing or fulfilling her mission, fulfilling her destiny, she keeps looking up. And in fact, the Lord tells us, He commands us to keep looking up because the world can be so distracting. The politics, the wars, the rumors of wars, all the things that were going on, all the rumors and conspiracies and the blah, 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 and the false doctrines and all the things. If you keep looking up, keep your eyes on Christ Jesus. While the storm is raging around you, keep looking up. That's what Christ commands His people to do. And like I said, that's probably why I love this movie so much. It's about a woman who's got all these people and distractions and confrontations and walls and obstacles that she has to overcome in order to fulfill her destiny, which is contact with God. And the world's trying to distract her, even steal her destiny, steal her achievements, steal her heart's desire to kill, steal, and destroy her, to destroy her destiny. And she refuses to do it. She keeps looking up. And Christ tells His bride, keep looking up. He commands us to keep looking up. Maybe I can find some verses on that just to prove my point. Just hold on a second. We always get on people's cases who we always, oh, you got it wrong again. You got it wrong again. The rapture didn't come this year. Ha ha. We always mock and scoff these people. Christians do too, mocking and scoffing people who are looking up and trying to figure out when the Lord's coming. Do you think the Lord is angry with these people because they got it wrong? I don't think so. because 88 reasons why Christ, God is, or 86 reasons, I don't know what it is, that Christ is coming in 1988. And we all mocked and scoffed, and we all laughed at him and thought, oh, how horrible. This poor guy, I think he died with heartbroken, this minister. But the reality is, there's a reward for looking up. There's a reward for watching. Even if you get it wrong, the Lord is not upset with you because you got it wrong. And we're mocking, scoffing people, telling them that they're losing their salvation because they're telling people to look up and watch for the return of the Lord. That is not a sin. If you get it wrong, there's a reward for watching. Even if you get it wrong, people, it's because you're looking up, and He wants you to be looking up. We don't know when He's coming. He could come tomorrow. He could come today. He could come next year. I don't know. But the Lord He told us to watch. It was a commandment on His part. Why? Because it keeps us from being distracted by all the things that are going on around us. That doesn't mean that we aren't supposed to be involved in the things around us. We're supposed to be praying for those leaders and people who are in authority. We're supposed to, so we can live a quiet and peaceful life, so that we can get along and not have to be persecuted. Nobody wants to be persecuted, but if you're a Christian, you're going to be persecuted anyway. But to lead a quiet and peaceful life, we're supposed to be praying for our leaders, okay? So even if they're evil, and they are evil, but this is what the Lord says about watching in the New Testament. Matthew 24, this is Matthew 24, the passage where it talks about the rapture. Jesus talks about the rapture in Matthew 24. Watch therefore, for you know not what hour the Lord doth come. So it's a commandment. Watch. Next verse. But know this, that if the good man of the house know not in what watch the thief would come, he would have watched, and would not have suffered his house to be broken up. So we're supposed to keep our eyes on our destiny, keep our eyes on the prize, which is to be looking up. Matthew 25:13. Watch therefore, for you know not which day and hour wherein the Son of Man cometh. Another verse. Let's see if I can another one. Here Jesus was complaining to his disciples when they wouldn't watch with him. He was going through a great suffering, and they went to sleep. And that's exactly what happened with the 10 virgins. They were all asleep. Only 5 of the 10 made it. The other ones went back to the world. Watch therefore, my Matthew 26:38, and he says, my soul is exceedingly sorrowful, even to death. Tarry here with me and watch with me. Watch. And then he complains to them about how the fact that he's fallen asleep. He comes unto the disciples and finds them asleep. And he said unto them, Peter, could you not watch with me 1 hour? We are, as a church, we are so reluctant to watch because we're so concerned and distracted and fighting with one another. We're not watching. Matthew 26:41, watch and pray that they enter not into temptation. The spirit is indeed is willing, but the flesh is weak. Mark 13:33. Take heed, watch, and pray, for you know not when the time is. Again, Matthew 13:35. Watch therefore, for you know not when the master of the house cometh, even at midnight, or at the cock crowing, or in the morning. Verse 37. And what I say unto you, I say unto all, watch. Watch. Isn't that what we call a timekeeper? A watch? You look at your watch. You're watching your watch. Let's see if I can find another one here. Luke 12:38. And he shall come in the second watch, or in the third watch. And if he shall come in the second watch, or the third watch, and find them so, blessed are those servants. Watch. Luke 21:36. Watch therefore and pray always, that you may be counted worthy to escape all these things that shall come to pass and stand before the Son of Man. So if you want to be accounted worthy and to escape, you need to be watching. Like in my dream, we were watching, we were looking up. Me and this woman were looking up, and these other ones they weren't watching. They were fighting and fussing with one another. Colossians 4:2. Continue in prayer and watch, and the same with thanksgiving. 1 Thessalonians 5:6. This is, of course, the passage where the rapture of the church happens, the rising from the dead. Therefore, let us not sleep as others do, but let us watch and be sober. First Peter 4:7. But the end of all things is at hand. Be ye therefore sober and watch unto prayer. Revelations 3:3. This is I think the church of Ephesus is warning to the church of Ephesus. Remember therefore which thou hast received and heard, and hold fast and repent. If therefore thou shalt not watch, I will come unto thee as a thief, and thou shalt not know which hour I come upon thee. Oh, that's that's the Grace Church. Okay, it tells the Grace Church to watch. That's Revelations 3. That's the church of Sardis. That's the oily fish. So why I brought this up, I don't know. Sure, except I was talking about those people we always mocking and scoffing, people who are watchers, and if they get it wrong, oh, you're wrong, you're going to go to hell because you were watching and then you saw the wrong thing and you told everybody to be ready. Well, you know what? We should stop mocking and scoffing these people and realize that they're trying to they're reminding us of something that we all are commanded to do, which is to watch. Okay. So anyway, this is what happened, and like I said, I was very, very discouraged, and I'm still not feeling that encouraged at the moment. Still kind of feeling kind of dark, and my attitudes are not really wonderful. But that's where I am at the moment. And but anyway, interesting dreams. I think the Lord was trying to tell me, like I said in my dreams, that my fruit, I may not see the fullness of my fruit. Um, all the things that I've gone through, and then the frustration I feel for having worked this hard and given all this information out and being ignored and going right over most people's heads, or they didn't care, or they think it's a bunch of hoo-ha and calling me all kinds of names and all kinds of things that are happened to me. And I'm thinking, oh, Lord, what am I going through this? And the Lord gives me these dreams. And I think the Lord was just telling me, you may think that you're not being fruitful. You may not think that you've gotten much out of this, but there is a fruit that's coming. And this, the people are hearing your videos now, or who've completely ignored you, or called you names and did all kinds of things against you. Um, they think that they're winning this war. They think that they're winning this battle, but the reality is they're too afraid to admit the truth, or because they know the truth, they know it's true, they can even see that what you're saying is true and right, but they're too afraid because they're controlled by mind control, or because they're afraid of being rejected. Just like you've been rejected by most of the Christian community. So therefore, you know what? But don't worry about it. It's not for you to worry about, because guess what? I have given you this truth, and your truth, not your truth, not my truth. It says what you've been trying to get out, the fruit that you've been trying to bear, will come to you, but it'll be for the next dispensation. Your truth, your truth, what you've been doing, your ministry, the things that you've been putting out there may not have had the impact that you'd hoped at this particular time in your life. You hadn't been able to see the fruit of what you've done. But when it comes to the next dispensation, when it comes to the next level that the world is going to go through, you will see the fruit. Don't be worried about what you see here right now, the lack of fruit, the lack of productivity, and the things that you've dealt with here. There is a fruit coming, and it may not be the fruit that you expected. It may be a strange fruit, but it will be a fruit nonetheless, and it's going to be for the next part that's coming, helping them prepare for the famine, for the word. It's going to help them prepare for the lack of food, and the shelter that these people are going to go through some really, really, really hard times. And what you've prepared them for is for this time. So that was actually encouraging to me, although I still feel, like I said, feel kind of in a funk. I'm not really exactly feeling really, you know, hyper diaper, although I'm talking really fast. It's because I've just had so much on my mind, and I'm thinking if I go slow and try to go slowly, it's not helping my stuttering, and it's like my stuttering is just as bad today as any ever. Anyway. So anyway, like I said, I'm still in a funk. Hopefully by tonight or tomorrow, even maybe I'll be in a better mood. And I may even actually do the video I was telling you about, the movie Contact, and how much I enjoyed it and what I got from it. things I liked and things I didn't like. But what I the gist of the matter is that why I really really love this movie is because it's about a woman who keeps looking up, and I think that's really, I guess, the call of my heart and what I've been trying to say for all these years, 10 years of being on YouTube, 10 years of looking back and thinking, was it worth it? Was it worth all this? Was it worth it? And I have to conclude that it has to be worth it if I myself alone have gotten some freedom and some discernment and some clarity, which I have. This 10 years have been really, really hard in a lot of ways, but I've got, like I said, free from a lot of mind control through religious training, thousands of years of being human, of, that's been clarified, a lot of questions that I've had answered for myself personally. Um, the Lord called me to understand the mystery of the bride and the bridegroom. That's the calling He gave me. And it's an intimate calling, it's a calling to intimacy that very, 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 very few people, and I'm talking Christian people, ever achieve. Ever achieve. It's been a really rough ride because it is a difficult calling, because it requires going deep, it requires going into some underground tunnels, and it requires going into places that your mind does not want to go to and thinking, I reject that because it doesn't make sense to me, or because it's too dangerous, or because, you know, I'll be rejected, all kinds of things that it requires courage to look into. Because you're going to face rejection, which I have. And it's not um, So I've had to do it. But it was a calling that Lord gave me, which was a call to intimacy. It was my destiny to go deep, 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 even when nobody else would follow, even when I had to do it by myself, even when I thought, am I the only one who believes these things? Why are you only showing me? And it's only me that I seems to get this information. And now I'm having to stand by myself on the word from what you said and try to make heads or tails of why it and why other people can't see it. Well, it's been a rough ride. That's all I'm going to say. It's been a rough ride, and 10 years of looking back at it, trying to figure out whether it was worth it. And of course, it's worth it. Really, it is. It's worth it because I've gotten clarity. I've got a lot of questions answered, and I pray that it's not just me, even though I have no evidence that anybody understands anything I'm saying. I'm praying that what I've said and the 10 years of being on YouTube have had borne some fruit in that people have gotten free, that they have found Christ Jesus, that they have found that we're not called to be religious in our thinking, but relational, that God is a real God and that He talks to us intimately on a personal level. If you are willing to see Him, to answer Him, to talk to Him, He will come and sup with you. He will have this personal relationship with you. He is that personal. But it's a relationship that's not instantaneous. It's a developing thing. You have to develop a relationship. You have to develop that trust. You have to develop that interest. You have to show that you're interested in Him so that He can actually start to move in those intimate ways in your life, and to go into deep, dark places and start opening up your mind to see things that were hidden from your mind because you're blind, miserable, and naked, and you didn't even know it. We all start out that way. We all start out that way. But your intimate relationship with Christ starts to unravel all these hidden things that help you to get clothed in your white raiment, that help open up your eyes to things that you didn't see before, open up your understanding. In the meantime, here I am at this moment, a little miserable. Okay, I'm a little miserable. I'm a little miserable about, you know, the way things are at the moment. But I'll get through this too. We all do. Sometimes God calls us to be a little miserable in order for us to grow up. And maybe this is the grow up time for me, another move forward as we're moving into the next phase of whatever it is that we're going through. And sometimes we just don't understand it, but we just have to trust and keep going. So anyway, after all this ranting, I hope you got something from this, and I feel better for having got it out and got it out to you. Whether you listen to the end, I don't know. If you're still here, God bless you, and I'll feel better, I'm sure, tomorrow, or whenever it is I decide to finally make another video, and if I make a video on this movie, which I really should because I really do love this movie. Anyway, and it probably make me feel better to talk about it. So I will talk to you later, and I hope you have a blessed day.